Welcome back. Sarah from Tangy Tarot here. We are back with another installment of the Tarot in Practice series. Woo! This series was created by Katie Flowers a year or two ago. Her series, Tarot in Practice, was one of my favorite series of hers, and I've always wanted to do some of my own versions of that series. This time we're doing the Midnight City Tarot. Yes, my makeup is a little bit experimental. It's based off of the Page of Cups card in the deck, and I'll be showing that more later on. In this video, I will be sharing certain readings and exercises I did with the Midnight City Tarot and just sharing my overall experience with this deck. Also, I just noticed, and I totally didn't mean this, but it coincides really well. My nails are matching the nail color of the nails on the box here. Is this kismet or what? I wanted to use this deck and just put myself in the whole city slicker, enjoying the city, enjoying the community mindset. I brought it on my trip to New York in July. I was hoping to use this deck a lot more when I actually went on the trip. I did not, but that's okay because I was busy living my life. I did enjoy working with this for a little bit and kind of getting to know it a little bit better. So on to the rest of the video. Here's the box that the deck comes with. It is in a two-piece box. It does come with a separate guidebook that I believe you have to purchase separately. So here's a quick overview of the deck before we get into the readings. Here's the backs. This deck is based off of New York City in the US. So the artist lives in Brooklyn, I believe. So she just illustrated a lot of scenes and people and energies around the city of New York. And we can tell that there is a lot of just romanticism in this deck, which I honestly really appreciate. I think this just radiates that cups energy, that water energy, because it's just very romantic, very soft, and it gives a very idealized version of what living in a city is like. I feel like because it is an idealized version, though, this deck does play it safe. There's not anything that I found too radical or too out of the ordinary of this deck. So I will say it is kind of a very ordinary, kind of vanilla, playing it safe kind of deck. I feel like the scenes, they do follow the Rider-Waite-Smith type of meaning, type of energy. Again, it just doesn't go its own way too often. I feel like it just, all I can think of is that it plays it safe. But I'm sure there's merit for those kinds of decks, and there's use for those kinds of decks in all of our collections, right? In all of our readings. So that's some of the cards there. I pulled out some cards that I did really enjoy, just a handful to talk about right now. Here's the Ace of Wands. There's a certain element of witchiness in here. It makes me think of kind of lighting your candle to set the intention so that you can go forth and do the rest of your project. Light the candle and just set the intention, ground yourself, get ready to do the next thing. I love this idea of the 10 of coins. Everyone just crowded in this small apartment, just enjoying a fun time. Even though the space is small, just knowing that we're all together with family is so much more important than just being in the small space. This Page of Cups is one of my favorite cards. Very dreamy, very beautiful color palette. I think this card should be highlighted on the box or on the guidebook. It is that beautiful. It just really shows the epitome of the deck, the energy of the deck and all. The Seven of Wands makes a lot of sense to me, kind of pushing through the crowd in front of you. You ever been in that situation where you're trying to push through and get home or get somewhere, but there's a whole crowd in front of you just blocking your way? That definitely is that kind of energy right there. This is one of my favorite Knight of Cups cards ever. The idea of being able to look at the city, almost big picture, kind of seeing it from afar. I really like this kind of romantic energy instead of other decks where the romantic energy is always love or relationship based. So I really love the energy of this card. I think it perfectly captures the Knight of Cups energy, and it's something that I want to incorporate in my life every day. Now, on the other hand, here are a few cards that I wasn't a fan of as much. What I think this deck does well is when it illustrates scenes and people doing things, some action here, a little bit of action and motion here. But I do find that some of the cards are also kind of stagnant and they just don't really fit in with the rest of the deck, in my opinion. So for example, the High Priestess here, the deck describes them as just being on this hoop above the crowd, but I don't really know why they're like this. I feel like the deck does a mix of some symbolic cards and some scenic cards, and then it tries to explain the symbolic cards as if they were scenes, and I'm I don't really understand how this makes sense. Why would someone be in a hoop in a nightclub here? This Empress, I am sad because there's so much potential that could have gone into an Empress card, but instead we just have a flower on a night sky. And the guidebook describes this card as like you come across a rose bush and you see like certain roses and you see the petals like flowering outward. But I'm like, that doesn't really, I feel like you could have exemplified the energy of the Empress more in a scene instead of just putting a flower on and then saying, okay, that represents the Empress. Like, how does this represent the Empress? What action is going on here? Two of Coins, kind of similar gripes as like with the High Priestess. Like, I don't really know what the context of this is. A couple of the court cards I just wasn't really a fan of. For example, these queens, I wish the queens were looking more active, and just looking at these cards, I don't get a strong sense of like what is going on or what energy is happening. I do kind of see like with the Queen of Wands a little bit of like radiance, confidence kind of thing here, but they're also just sitting down, and that doesn't really vibe with my own version or idea of the Queen of Wands. And same with the Queen of Swords. It is about boundaries, but like how does sitting out here in a park with a sword, how does that really signify or represent boundaries? I'm not really getting that sense. Here's another similar gripe as with the Empress. Like, it's not really explaining anything. It's just telling me like the symbol and then telling me like how that's supposed to make me feel or how I'm supposed to interpret it. Here's another card that kind of does play it safe, the Justice card. This came up in my first deck interview, the first clip that I did. And the guidebook just mentions a lot of keywords for the Justice card or Justice energy. For example, like balance and equity and fairness. How do you embody the ideals of justice? But then it doesn't really like go into that more in depth. And I feel like there's just so much history that you could have gone into with the Statue of Liberty and how people are like misrepresenting it, how maybe we misrepresent like ideas of fairness. But then again, like I do recognize like, you know, the creator can only do so much. This is the creator's interpretation. These gripes that I have with it, like they're my own interpretations and my own ways of reading the cards. So, you know, just sharing a few cards that didn't really work for me, but also some cards that did. So here is the spread that I did. Also real quick, here's my little layout. Got my picnic blanket and, you know, just sitting out in the apartment complex. It's quite nice and no one usually sits out here, which I think is kind of a shame, but you know, I got the whole space to myself here. I took some time today to just read like the preface of the book here and just get into the vibes of the deck. I have done readings with this deck before, but I wanted to just do like a fresh start. So this is a deck interview spread from Anya Esme on YouTube. I normally don't do a lot of deck interviews, but I do really like this spread, and I just felt like it would be a good practice reading to do, you know, just for the sake of reading while I'm out here on this nice day out in the grass. Going through the questions, we have, what is your task as a deck? What are you here to teach me? The Hermit. What is your perception of yourself as a deck? Death. How do you see me as a reader? Ace of Coins. How should I best work with you, I believe is the question. 8 of Coins. What's the nature of our working relationship? Knight of Coins. What new passions or talents might you inspire in me? Justice. And what shadows of mine will you help me bring to light and to love? King of Swords. I really like the dreamy color palette of this deck, and I really like the silhouettes. The fact that these people they're almost just like stick figures or just silhouettes. I really like the color palette. I just think it's so dreamy, and the colors are just, they're just really, really cohesive. I associate cities with like communities and being there for other people and being close knit and like being at one with the city. I think people talk a lot about being at one with nature, which I think is cool, but I've never really personally resonated with. I have a desire to connect more with the city and the communities around me. And I think sometimes it's easier for me to forget that because I'm so bogged down in my own situation. Like, how can I contribute to the community when I don't feel like my own needs are fulfilled? But I think contributing to the community can help you fulfill your own needs. Anyway, that's a side thing. So I think some of the poignant cards here, the notable cards that came up in the spread, the Death card, how do you perceive yourself as a death? I thought this was really cool because the preface in this guidebook mentions that this deck is called the Midnight City Tarot because everything kind of takes place at midnight, which is where yesterday, today, and tomorrow converge. It's very poetic. And so I think the Death card coming up is really cool. And the guidebook points out this like little sprout right here as well, which I think is so cute. A very, very small sprout compared to this big tree that is going through this transition. I think I'm always in a period of like death, of transforming, because being in your 20s is like you're just always learning new things and trying to create new foundations for what might be the rest of your life or might just be the next week or the next month. The Justice card came up for what new passions or talents might this inspire in me. I wasn't really a fan of the guidebook entry for this. The guidebook mentions just repeated keywords like balance and equity and fairness, and I would have really liked for the guidebook to explain more about what that means. It says, like, try to live up to the ideals of justice, but I feel like that's just really broad. And in the context of New York City, especially, which is such a melting pot of a city, and the Statue of Liberty is so loaded in the past and in the present, there could have been a lot more explained in the guidebook for this justice card. But I also get it, like, maybe you don't want to be too political or kind of explain, like, justice actually means like being pro melting pot, pro like equity for all minorities and like marginalized identities. But anyway, I'm gonna keep meditating on this for like what passions and talents might this inspire in me. Justice. The hermit is very funny because this literally looks like me exactly right now with my blanket, sitting down with my books and my cards. I think that's very funny. And the shadows, what shadows will you help me bring to light and love? I think this is an interesting card to come up, the King of Swords. The guidebook talks about how the King of Swords can be a very rigid or astute and possibly controlling character. And I feel like that's definitely a shadow that I do have to acknowledge sometimes. I do fear the idea of me possibly getting too lost in my work and or in any game or in any endeavor that I'm trying really hard to get good at. I feel like I'm afraid to try hard to get good at things because I'm afraid of if I spend too much time on one thing, then I don't have enough energy or time on other things. But like, who's expecting me to spend time on energy on those other things anyway? Like, I need to give myself the space and the time and the love to be able to dedicate myself to things. If it makes me happy and if it makes me feel like I'm fulfilling my own needs or feeling fulfilled, like I need to do those things. So I need to not shy away from work that makes me feel good. So that is a little haphazard overview of my reading, and you can see the layout of the cards. So yeah, looking forward to working more with this deck and seeing how it goes. It's been a few days since I've done tarot for myself. Honestly, for some reason, I just haven't really been feeling inspired. This deck, I'm having some trouble like really connecting with it and feeling it in my heart. But I just wanted to come on here and do a freeform tarot reading and just record it as an example. I decided to pull a card from the Reclaim Oracle, which is this thick deck, and it is an oracle deck that features all emotions and feelings. The only question or thing I had on my mind was just help me understand what's going on right now or something to go off of for right now. So the card that I pulled was Curiosity. We have been going through couples therapy or premarital counseling for like a month. One goal that I have had for couples therapy or for premarital counseling is that I want to be able to understand where my partner is coming from. I want to be able to have conversations where we might disagree, but we're going to discuss it so that we can understand each other better. Sometimes my personal feelings and ideas and my past or my future, just all my personal feelings and ideas, they will seep into conversation. And I think that needs to be acknowledged for sure. But also I feel like sometimes that is stopping me from wanting to understand him and be open to what he might have to say or open to what he might want to think. Today, in session, I feel like we were making really good progress. I could feel myself like as I was talking about these things that had hurt me in the past. Now that had been acknowledged, I felt like I am able to be more open and more curious about his experiences and what he thinks. So I feel a lot of weight being lifted off my chest the more we go through these therapy sessions, and the more that like I feel like I have a safe space to talk about it and to unknot it with him. Now, since this is a tarot and practice video with the Midnight City Tarot, I wanted to pull this out and just pull some cards to expand on this idea of curiosity. I still don't have a question in mind. I just have the theme of curiosity in mind, and maybe I'm just looking for something to reflect on for now. So let's shuffle. Let's see. So let me pull a card or two. So the card I cut is the King of Cups. And the first things that come to mind definitely align with what I was literally just explaining about therapy and how I'm learning to acknowledge and manage my own emotions while also being able to make room and acknowledge other people's emotions. To describe the King of Cups card, we've got someone who is sitting on this bench. It looks like they're next to like a river or a lake of some sort, but it looks like they're just being able to contemplate and, you know, just they've got their cup in hand, they're able to just contemplate. It feels like a very serene vibe here. So the guidebook is pretty good. So the vibe, the keyword for the King of Cups here, a person who is compassionate, experienced in their strong emotions, and able to balance them. The advice here, the King of Cups is experienced in their emotions. They find ways to get to a quiet, meditative space within themselves and connect to their heart even within the intense city surroundings. And reversed, when the king is struggling to process the many emotions that city life evokes, they become off balance, stewing in memories and overwhelmed with feelings. This can make them distant, moody, or troubled. I have definitely been moody and troubled. Like, that's the whole reason why I want to go to premarital counseling. This does feel like a confirmation and an acknowledgement of like the work that I've been doing in therapy and on my own. Something that I've learned from couples therapy is this technique called EFT, which is emotions focused therapy, which according to my like very quick Google searching, is a common technique used for couples therapy. The reason why EFT can work is that when you're in the middle of like a really serious or stressful argument or a stressful time, you know, people are like saying mean things to each other, or they're saying things that they don't really mean, or they're like lashing out at each other or stonewalling, or it's hard for us to act or respond like wisely or rationally like all the time, because when we're stressed and these insecurities are coming out, like these insecurities and these feelings are coming up, and of course they're making us act in like different emotional ways. So part of why our therapy has been helpful so far is because we're able to break down like how we responded or how we reacted, and we're able to go underneath that surface level reaction and try to dig deeper. Like, why did we react this way? Why did I feel insecure? And where does that come from? I have found that so helpful, not just for couples therapy, but for like myself as well. I just had an argument like with my dad this past weekend over something that honestly was really trivial in the long run, but in the moment I felt like almost triggered and I felt very emotional. And then afterward, I felt regretful about how I reacted to him. So I use like these techniques to journal about it. Like, I kind of broke down like, why did I react this way? What was I in fear of? What insecurities were coming to mind? And like 20-30 minutes later, I was able to call him back and I was able to apologize, and he was apologizing for what he did wrong too. So basically, like, part of what EFT is it's telling us that our emotions are here to tell us something. So the emotions are not the bad guy. They are just the messenger of what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what we are experiencing, and how we want to proceed. I'm not a therapist. I don't know how well I'm really explaining this, but basically this EFT model has been super helpful, really breaking down your emotions and what insecurities are manifesting through our feelings and how we respond. That whole idea has been so helpful. So this King of Cups definitely does feel extremely relevant right now, because once I'm able to get a better handle on my emotions and honor my own emotions and make space for them and validate myself and all that good stuff, like, then I find that I am able to be curious about other people and what they're going through, because I'm not as worried about like, well, they're not asking about me, or like, they're not paying enough attention to me. No one's paying attention to me. I don't feel needed or loved. Like, so interesting little one card reading so far. I don't know if I should pull another card or if I should leave it at that. I'll pull another card just because I really love pulling cards. So I'm gonna pull one more card here for the fun of it. I feel like the King of Cups is like an acknowledgement of like the now. So I'm gonna pull one more card to help me think about the future here. I feel so much more inspired now that I've like just done this really, really simple reading and like talked about a little bit. So the second card here is the Two of Cups. What a card. Just as I'm talking about like couples therapy and trying to connect with others here. So this is the trio of cards so far. You know, we got the curiosity, followed by the King of Cups and the Two of Cups. So first looking at the card, describing the card, we've got two people here. There's a little heart mural in the back. We've got a beautiful romantic looking skyline in the back here. They're just clinking a cup, looking like they're sharing a nice, wonderful moment. So the entry for the Two of Cups seems a bit more simple than the King of Cups. So some of the keywords that I'm drawing from this are joyfulness, giddiness, two beings or things coming together. The advice is literally just a few words. It says, cheers, enjoy this sweet moment. That is a pretty good message for me to take away from this general reading. Like, I think I was pressuring myself to try to do like a big reading so that I would have something to film, but even simple readings like this like can be really helpful. So all I need to focus on for the foreseeable future, for the next, 1 or 2 days, is just to enjoy this sweet moment. Enjoy the fruits of the work that I've been doing. Enjoy the feeling of my heart opening up more to my partner and to my friends and to the world, because I'm like unknotting some of these things that I've been going through. So what a cute, simple little reading. What a wonderful little reading. So this is my little general reading for today. I pulled a card at the end of my New York trip, and I got the world as a souvenir that I should take back with me. It just feels very fitting, Like, I've gone to New York, I've seen that I can handle the world, I've reached like a new point in my growth, and I'm just ready to move on to another chapter. Also, seriously, look at this view from my friend's apartment rooftop. How amazing is this? So I'm filming on my patio out here. It's my first time filming out here. There's going to be some residual noise as people are playing in the pool and just enjoying their summer. I just got back from my East Coast trip. It's been like probably 6 years since I've traveled by myself. Doing a solo trip, traveling by myself, figuring things out by myself, even though I was with cousins or friends, I was mainly without my boyfriend, without my fiance. I really appreciated and enjoyed having some time like away from him so that I could just experience some independence a little bit. My makeup right now is inspired by the Page of Cups in the Midnight City Tarot. You can see the influence here. We've got the eyeliner, the gold here, and we've got the, the bubbles out here. I'm very proud of how it turned out. On to the reading. When I was in New York, I felt such an appreciation for being in a city, being outside of my own comfort zone, being outside of my home. I was inspired to do a reading based off of the different pages. So in the Midnight City Tarot, here are the Page of Cups, here's the Page of Wands, and here's the Page of Swords, and the Page of Coins. Initially, when I was choosing which cards I did like or did not like about this deck, the Page of Wands was a card that I was kind of confused about. Now that I'm back, I feel like I get it, because this person, they're out in the middle of the street. It's like, I've got my wand, I'm ready to use it. In this big city, what am I gonna do first with this wand? What shall I do first? The world has limitless possibilities. And then we have the Page of Swords, who is descending down the steps. There's a bit of rain here. It did rain in New York. Luckily, it only rained like one night. Oh my God, the weather in New York is so humid right now in July. It reminds me of Vietnam. This person still wants to get out there in the rain and still push forward, and I admire that grit. Then we've got the Page of Coins. I definitely felt like that going around all the different markets around New York as well. Just like, I have some new money. What do I want to spend it on? So anyway, that's my ramble about the pages. The Page of Cups is one of my favorite cards for sure. Again, as you can see. So I'm going to do a reading with these pages here. I'm just going to pull another card for each one. So one bittersweet thing about vacations and about trips is that they do end eventually. And even though it is sad that they end, it is also nice that they end, because it allows me to kind of transition back to my regular life, but with like a new feeling. I think I just want to ask, what are the pages bringing back from vacation? There we go. What is a souvenir that the pages are bringing back from vacation? So the first one is the Page of Cups. What souvenir is the Page of Cups bringing back from vacation? Right. We've got the Five of Coins. There is a bug warning, so be warned. I'm going to show the card. Got the Five of Coins, 5 roaches in an apartment right now. Disgusting. I have been there. It is disgusting with a capital C. What souvenir is a Page of Wands bringing back from vacation? 4 of Cups. Here we see someone who's carrying 3 coffee cups, the 3 cups away from the stand, and someone is like offering them the 4th cup, but they're not taking it or not looking that way.
And then what is the Page of Swords bringing back from vacation? Okay, we've got the Six of Swords. The scene looks like very rainy. We've got a beautiful skyline in the background. The skyline is one of my favorite aesthetics. And we've got someone looking out from the rear train car as the train is moving along. Taking the metro was one of my favorite experiences in New York. I really enjoyed it last time I went, and I still really enjoyed it this time. It's awesome not having a car and not having to worry about being tethered to that car. What's the Page of Coins bringing back from vacation? Okay, the Five of Swords. Okay, we've got a lot of middle numbers, 5, 4, 6, and a 5. So the Page of Coins is bringing back the Five of Swords from vacation. I'm gonna pause as I read the guidebook, reflect on the cards a bit, and see what's up here. So I moved back inside because kids are still playing and being rambunctious out there. So here is what I got. The first page, we've got the Page of Cups. So the Page of Cups, the souvenir they're bringing back is the Five of Coins. A lot of roaches, a lot of nasty stuff being in your apartment. After reflecting on this, I feel like the Page of Cups is coming back to this apartment of like all this nasty stuff. And I feel like the Page of Cups finally has enough like emotional resilience to be able to kind of start tackling this roach problem. I would get stuck in like certain habits or patterns that weren't working for me. And it would be easy for me to just be like, oh, well, I'm feeling too overwhelmed to like do anything about this. For example, I'm not exercising as much as I want to. I'm not making enough plans. Even resting isn't like as restful as I want it to be. And it's easy for me to just be like, oh, well, it's always going to be this way. I'm always going to be overwhelmed. But I feel like the Page of Cups finally is realizing some emotional resilience to be able to handle these hard things. They've seen the world. They've seen how amazing it can be. And they're going to use that wonder to help them push through and conquer these hard things and solve and get rid of these hard things. What souvenir is the Page of Wands bringing back? Again, we have someone who is, standing on the side of the road. They've got all the potential in their hand. They're like getting ready to use their wand, use their will to make things happen. So what souvenir are we bringing back? We're bringing back the Four of Cups. So the wands and the cups here, they're like opposing elements. We've got fire and we've got water. It's very opposite. I feel like similar to the previous page, it's kind of a willingness to push through hard things, a willingness to open myself up to something that I may not consider. If I want to turn this away, I can turn it away, but with grace and after having considered it. I don't have to automatically be defensive and shut off from potentially, new information, new feelings, new experiences just because I'm worried that I can't handle it. Because I've seen through my trip by myself without my fiance, who I've been with for like 9 years, I have seen that I am able to handle things and I am able to problem solve by myself. So I can take whatever this new challenge is if I allow myself to. What is the Page of Swords bringing back from vacation? Again, we've got someone with their sword in hand. They're kind of going down the steps. Even if it's rainy, they're like ready to push through. The rain can't stop them now. So what are they bringing back? The Six of Swords. With the metro, there were a few times when I would just be ascending the stairs almost at the doors of the metro, but the doors would close and the train would keep on going. And I feel like even though it could be like, oh, why didn't they wait for me like 2 more seconds? Like the fact is the train has a schedule to run. The train does not need to wait for every last passenger to get on the train before it keeps going. The train just has to go on the schedule. When the train has to go, it just goes. The train does not worry about maximizing the occupancy of the cars before it can go. It can be easy for me to want to put together like every last thought of a video, of a project down before I can even get started on it. But the fact is, I don't have to wait until I have all of my ducks in a row before I can start that project. When I feel inspiration for a project or when I want to get that project going, I can just start it. I can just continue it and work on it. I don't have to worry about maximizing the potential. I can just kind of start going with what I have now. So I found that like metaphor, the metro for the Six of Swords, really profound. And the last page here is the Page of Coins. I thought that this person was waiting in line for the theater, but the guidebook actually mentions selling brownies to everyone in line. It's more like they're trying to take advantage of this business opportunity. So what souvenir is the Page of Coins bringing back from vacation? We've got the Five of Swords. This actually feels relevant to something that we were just talking about in couples therapy today. I shared a fear that had been kind of an undercurrent in my mind, a subconscious fear, the fear that I'm not doing enough in the relationship, the fear that I'm not like foreseeing my partner's needs enough and trying to like plan ahead for those needs, even though my partner has not actually said those needs out loud. And so our therapist pointed out that
In this way, I am holding a lot of that fear to myself, and I'm not really sharing that fear with my partner. I'm not really telling him how I feel. I'm not telling him, like, hey, I'm actually scared about this. One person is not really sharing their feelings with the other person, being very disconnected here, facing opposite directions and not really talking to each other. We have to be able to communicate. We have to be able to share things and make the effort to connect even when the gap feels so big. So that's my little reading with the pages bringing back stuff from vacation. So that was my experience with the Midnight City Tarot, some example readings and interpretations and whatnot. I hope that this tarot practice video was helpful for you, or that you found it inspiring or comforting or something, all the synonyms. As always, thank you to Katie Flowers for your original tarot and practice videos. I have so many ideas for more decks that I want to use and just do multiple readings of, and I just can't wait to get through all of them. Yeah, that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye!